What I'm so excited about, Coach Jeff, is that we get to talk to you specifically about the tools of creation, which I know you are an expert in. And this video is actually made for anyone. It could be a school teacher, it could be a father, it could be somebody incarcerated, it could be somebody who actually an officer who works with those who are incarcerated. It's anybody. I want them to understand a little bit more about that set of tools called the tools of creation. So let me just let you introduce those tools. If somebody were to say, well, what are the tools of creation and how do they work for me? What would you say?
Well, the tools of creation, they're the fourth set of tools, starting with what if, reality check, and ultimate freedom. So I call them like really my freedom tools because I get to start creating the life that I always wanted, starting with what if, like the keywords are no to the past equals yes to the future. So it's like a real simple equation that makes so much sense to me now that didn't really make sense before. But once I started saying no to my past, my old criminal lifestyle, my negative behaviors, my negative beliefs, then it equaled the future that I want. I always used to tell people when I was still incarcerated, like when we were running groups, sit back on your bunk at night and really daydream about the life that you want. And I know it's not sitting in these cells, and so what if is the tool that allows you to create your future. Almost actually we call it like the how you get to predict your future. So when you really start to utilize it, you can predict pretty much every outcome of your life if you really truly um, use what if. So that's another, you get to create your future, and it's awesome. So that's always a tool that I use, like to get guys and girls, whoever's I'm talking to, is like to really envision the power of that tool.
So
You
let's
know,
talk a little bit more about that tool. Now, you said there are four sets of tools. We're talking about tools of creation, which has three tools inside that set. What if being one that you use. And I like how you kind of immediately went to those keywords as a way to kind of simply describe that. How would, let's say, how would a teacher use what if as a tool to either help a student or help the teacher understand? How could it be used in an academic setting?
okay, yeah, that's a good question right there. So, like, I would actually have an activity if you're giving it to, say, school kids as an activity. I'd probably have like a printout where you put in different choices that you could possibly make, like continue to get an A in this class, or being nice to somebody, or getting like an extracurricular activity. And then what if on the other side, the other line would be like, okay, what are all the possible outcomes of this action that I make? And so that's another way that I used it as well, as like, okay, if I make this action, what if I make that? What are the possible outcomes? And so basically, I started to do that with every choice that I made. And if any one of those outcomes was unacceptable, then I would have to choose a different action. And so you could do that with activity pages. And the other question was, how would a teacher do it?
How would
I
a
guess.
teacher use it if they have let's say they have somebody that just the academic setting doesn't work for them? It's a student and they can't sit still, or they can't. And teachers get frustrated when children or their students really are not going along with the program. How might a teacher use what if regarding a student that might be not so pleasant to work with?
Yeah, I could imagine that. So she or he could use what if on different courses of action of like how to interact with that child. So what if I discipline them, or what if I write them up or her up? What kind of result is that going to have? It's probably going to build resentment from the kid. It's probably not going to help them too much. But what if I sit down and actually explain what's going on to them? What if I sit down and tutor them on the side to make sure that they know um, what they need to do to accomplish their task. And then you can see the outcomes, and you can actually put this into practice, because if you choose a positive choice, most oftentimes you're going to get a positive result from the other person. Or, if we go back even to like positive words and stuff, I love how the GOGI tools, really work together. But yeah, so they could just use it like that, kind of just pick out actions. What if I do this? What if I do that? And obviously, from past actions, you're going to know, like disciplining them or yelling at them or scolding them probably didn't, result in the desired effect. So what if I do something else? And you can start to see a brighter future when you do that.
Would you say that the what if tool is kind of like the tool of like possibilities,
Yes,
entertainment? Yeah.
yes, I think so. Like I mentioned before too, like what if is the tool to predict the future. So with what if, you could have any type of future that you want. And so it's really, if you use what if correctly, the possibilities are endless, really.
Let's talk now about the next tool in this set called the tools of creation. The next tool, reality check.
Okay.
Personally, on a personal level, how do you use reality check?
Reality check was actually a huge tool in my own recovery, because we go to the keywords always with our GOGI tools, because it's a simple way, like you mentioned before, to really understand like the concept, right? So reality check, 10 steps forward and 2 steps back is still equals 8 steps ahead. And so for me, that's a very important thing to remember in my own recovery, even today. But early on, it was even more important, because like when I was tiptoeing around the idea of changing my life, and I'd be doing good for a while, and I'd have a mess up, I'd have a setback, which is inevitable when we're doing this. I would just say, they call it the F it's. I say, F it. I'm going down this path. I know how this path goes. I'm comfortable with this path. I'm going to do this. Um, but I never stopped to think and realize, man, you had 10 steps of positivity. You had all this good. And I never looked to that. I just looked to the mess up and I said, F it. So it was really important for me to understand that with reality check, we get right back on track. We understand that, yes, sometimes we'll have setbacks in life. Even today, I still have setbacks, but I look to all the progress, the 8 steps that I'm still ahead. It proves to me that I am capable of changing my life. I am capable of doing all these positive things, and I'm not the person that, whoever says I am, especially while I'm in prison, or I used to be in prison. I had a lot of negative predictions on my life. A lot of people said I was this or I was that. And when I look to those 8 steps ahead, it's proof to me that I'm not the person that they say I am, and I'm capable of so much more.
So
So,
let's look at the people that you interacted with. Let's say for the corrections officer or the peace officer or the cop on the street, how might they use reality check in working with the public? Because certainly they're seeing the public in their worst condition. How might a police officer, corrections officer, a cop utilize reality check?
yeah, I think, in that situation, cop or correctional officer, they are encountering people probably at their lowest times, or in a point where they made one of those setbacks. They took 2 steps back or 4 steps back, who knows? And I think, oftentimes in those encounters with the individuals that are making the mess up, um, they're basically like looked down upon, or punished, or or saying that you're no good, you're not worth nothing because you made this one mistake. But understanding this concept, understanding how everybody has 10 steps forwards and 2 steps back, even people that aren't criminals, they could use it as almost like a tool of compassion, and understand that it is common for people to make mistakes in life, and maybe even try to talk to the person that's messing up, say, hey, when in life, how'd you get here? you may look to the positive things that they've done and say, look, man, you are capable of positive things. I know this isn't you. This is a time of weakness, or this is a time of, a stupid decision. Oftentimes, that's why GOGI is positive decision-making tools. We learn how to make positive decisions on a regular basis. But I think for the people in those type of situations, dealing with people that have made setbacks, reality check would be a real good tool of compassion and just highlighting the commonality that we all share as human beings, that we all have setbacks, and that doesn't define exactly who we are as a person, and we could always get right back on track and become whoever we want to be.
I like what you said. And I think for parents, for teachers, for anybody in a position of authority, or anybody tasked with making sure things go correctly, is to acknowledge this doesn't define you. Whatever that behavior or that choice is, this isn't all that you are. This isn't the totality of who you are. I think that compassion. So would you say that reality check is like a tool of compassion?
Yeah, I definitely think so. From people using it to see people in a different light, and even more a compassion for yourself too, because man, I used to be hard on myself big time. So looking to the 8 steps ahead is important for people like in recovery, rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it, to acknowledge your own successes as well and have compassion for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back for doing good. See yourself in a different light, because when we have those mess ups, usually we're probably the hardest people on ourselves. And that's why we go back down the old negative path that we used to be on. But definitely anybody could use it for yourself, or to look at somebody in a different light and understand that they're not, like you said, that one choice that they made, even though it might be a horrible choice, doesn't define them as a human being, doesn't mean that they can't change. And so reality check is a tool of compassion, and it's also a tool to look at as proof that you're not that one bad choice.
Awesome. So let's look at the third tool in this set of tools. So we have what if, and we have reality check. The next one is ultimate freedom, which I think that you live by every day. I think this is just how you move through your day. Talk about ultimate freedom, what it means to you, how you would recommend somebody utilize this particular tool.
So ultimate freedom, so as the tool suggests, like it's freedom inside and out. It's really, the key words are, being a service sets me internally free, right? And early on in my GOGI studies, it was hard to really fully understand this tool. And it's because, like the text says too, like until you're in a good mental and emotional state, it's very hard to conceptualize this tool, because being a service always, for me, in my criminal and gang, behavior, when I did something for somebody, I accumulated a debt, in my mind, like, okay, I did this for you, now you owe me, and that was a very unfree way to live, because always holding on to something. And with ultimate freedom, you really learn to accept and have room in your life for the wants and needs of other people, and know that it's not just about you. You get out of your selfish ways of living, and you realize, other people's wants and needs are just as valid as yours. And so ultimate freedom, I learned it. I started to live it inside prison. I was set internally free inside prison long before I ever earned my physical freedom. And it's just a way of being. I don't have any attachments to things that I do. I do them free and willingly, and it just gives me a real true freedom that it's hard to explain until you really actually start to implement it. But you just love life.
Yeah, I go back to you getting employed and your employer trusting that you were the right person for these jobs. And in every case, every step along the way, as you increase your credibility as a valuable employee, and you inspire others, and people talk about your attitude and things like that. Does that does living with that service mindset help you be a better employee? And talk about being a family member or in relationships. How does that mindset help you as you move through just daily life? It doesn't mean you have to be a monk and walk around eating rice that's given to you. How does that being of service mindset shift opportunities for you?
Well, it opens up so many opportunities. As you know, I kind of want to start back from when I was still inside prison. I would have never been sitting here on a Zoom meeting as a free man if I didn't adopt the concept of ultimate freedom and being a service, because uh, ultimately, I mean, it was you that told me, go to high desert state prison where I didn't want to go and be a service, and and it's gonna set you internally free. And I didn't really understand that because I was still in my old ways of thinking. And I took a chance and I did it. And once I started being a service and I seen how I could affect people by the love and care that I showed them, it was motivating. It was gratifying. It was fulfilling. And the best feeling I had probably in my journey at GOGI is we had multiple groups up there, and you don't know how your actions affect people essentially. And one of the facilitators that I had trained was in another group, and I went to sit in on their group, and he was talking about me, and real quite similar how I'm talking about you right now. And he started like crying and tearing up and saying, man, if it wasn't for GOGI J right here, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So it's like a really reciprocal tool. When you start to be a service, you see the effect that it has on people, and then it just gives you more life and more energy to keep on doing what you do. So translating that out here, like when you're being a service and you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, people see that, people sense that. And like you said, they start to have trust in you. They start to see you as a leader. They start to see you as a valuable person in whatever that you're doing, maybe a job, maybe a relationship. They start to see the value in you that you already now see in yourself. And it just starts to open up opportunities. Like I'm only 5 months out of prison, and it's amazing how far I've come. And it's being of service to myself and to my community. And people are literally, it seems like they're rolling out the red carpet for me. And it's only because they see that I'm willing to, give freely of myself, and I don't expect nothing in return. That's the big thing. And they just see it and they go, all right, well, here you go. This is, you earn this. And so it's just a great feeling, to live like that and just be free.
So tell me, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, what was your mindset? And did you ever think that you would be where you are now? 5 or 6 years ago, what were you thinking? What was your mindset?
So 5 or 6 years ago, well, we'll go six. We'll go 6 years ago. We'll go back to, well, 2017. Well, yeah. So basically, when I first started GOGI, I was in Kern Valley State Prison. I still had life without the possibility of parole. I start GOGI. I meet you. All of us taking it. We're kind of, whatever. It's GOGI. It sounds funny. Let's go check it out. Let's get out of our cell. And we started. Me and one of my friends, Keith. He was actually my cellie. We took to it, and it was something that we really liked. We took to it. And I said, man, I started trying the tools. They started to work for me. So I started implementing in my life, but really still, I had no hope of ever getting out. Prison didn't offer much hope. The laws that and the sentence that I was sentenced to didn't offer much hope. But ultimately, I came to the point in my life where I wanted something different. You know, I started to understand that this wasn't me. These choices that I made up until this point wasn't truly what I had in my heart. So I go to, I get transferred to high desert. I almost messed up my whole path. But you said, no, this is, I remember so clearly. I told you that and you said, good. And I, you know, as when I first met you, I said, man, I thought you were a nice lady, you know, and you said, oh, no, yeah, good.
Because
This is
you
your
said,
opportunity.
Coach Taylor, I'm being transferred to high desert. It is the worst of the worst, is the bad of the bad. And I said, good.
You did.
You didn't
You
like
very
that
much
too much.
did. Yeah. And I was just like, what the heck? But yeah, you were like, no, this is your opportunity to become the person that you always were meant to be. And you were absolutely correct because through that process, I started to understand my own value. I started to see life differently. I started to see myself not as a prisoner. I started to see myself as, you know, Gogi Jeff, a valuable person, Coach Jeff.
I want you to share a message with anybody watching this 30-minute video. I want you to just share a message about the tools of creation, and what would you like them to know as we sign off?
All right. Well, the things I would like to know about the tools of creation is basically with these tools, you can create any life that you want. Like I started explaining earlier, I had no hope when I was in prison. I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And with these tools in particular, I started to create a different mindset. I started to create a different character. And ultimately, like you said, in 2018, I was actually afforded the opportunity to file a commutation, and the governor commuted my sentence from life without the possibility of parole to 20 years to life. And one of the main things he quoted when he gave me that commutation was all the work that I did with GOGI and how I changed my life when I had absolutely no hope to do any, no incentive, no hope at all. And I did this purely based on the fact that I wanted to be a better person. Um, Anything's possible. I was literally sentenced to die in a prison cell. And here I am on in the free world, being successful, have a job, have a nice car, on a Zoom meeting, learning how to do technology with Coach Taylor. Literally anything is possible with these tools and all the rest of the GOGI tools if you really put your mind to it and decide that you want something different for your life. And I can sit here and tell you how beautiful they are and how they work, but really I would just encourage you all to try them. I thought they were goofy at first until I was in class and I had my book open to belly breathing. I was still a jerk at the time, violent person, and someone was irritating me in class. I was a teacher's aide. And I looked down at belly breathing and I said, man, what the heck? I tried it. I put one hand on my chest, one hand on my belly. I belly breathed and I was able to calm down enough to say, hey, you know what? Here in a minute, I'll go over there and help you. And I use positive words, another GOGI tool, and it worked. And at that moment, I was kind of hooked to GOGI, and I started to use it, and here I am. And I created something that everybody would have said was impossible. So that's the
Well, I've
message I
got
want
to
to
tell
leave.
you, Coach Jeff, right now I consider you, and I have for quite some time, as a dear friend. I consider you as someone I trust, someone I could give the keys to my house, to my car to, and I know you would protect me and care for me. I entrust you with the community in which I live because I know you are a man of service. And I just want to congratulate you for the journey because I know it was not easy to get from where you were 6 years ago to where you are now. And I really, really congratulate you on that journey.
No, thank you. You're a big part of my journey, and I love you like a dear friend, more than a dear friend.
Well, I love you too, and I'm very proud
Yeah.
of you. And to anybody watching, I just want to say, please, you are only limited by your own limitations. There are no limits, and the GOGI tools are free for you. Use them any way you want. Use them daily and minute by minute and develop the future that you really want for yourself. Goodbye, everyone.